Hi there, welcome to my studio. I'm so excited to have you with me today. This whole episode and also the reflections today is really based on some reflections I've been doing as I've been coaching and supporting people, not only throughout my journey, but also throughout theirs. And as you can see, I've titled today, Unlock the Fear Prison and Live, Lead, and Love. I think for a lot of us, we don't even recognize we're caged in by fear because fear has become the way we've navigated our world. In actual fact, because we are these wonderful beings, I think the key thing to recognize is that fear doesn't define us, but we don't recognize that. What am I talking about? Let me give you a quick reflection piece. This weekend, I was listening to an audiobook, and I'm just going to put it on here for you all, Sean Acor, and it is called Big Potential. It's a book he released in 2018, and I'm really excited by it because as I was going through the first entry into this reflection and this book, he was talking about, I'm going to call them fireflies, but these bugs that light up at night. And how they actually need each other in order to, the males need each other as they light up in order to signal to the females where they are. And it was a really interesting concept because it took him to a place where he was saying, we have to learn how to be better together. Now, I want to go back to fear. Fear is one of the things that keep us separate from each other. When I am operating in fear, I need to protect myself. Now, how many of you out there have worked through your leadership career and your career at work, as well as maybe your life, where you have learned to rely only on you and you are struggling to connect with others so that we can be better together? I'm not judging. I'm just sharing this with you as a lens because let me talk about judgment. We've got two sources that actually feed us as a human, as a person. We've got love and we've got fear. And the challenge we actually have is to recognize which source is feeding us. What do I mean by that? Fear drives negative thinking, which becomes negative emotion. Love drives curiosity, openness, and interest. Love drives compassion, grace. Love drives the opportunity to allow people to be less than perfect. Ooh, have I hit a hot spot for people? Less than perfect. In my practice, I have a saying, and I've actually used it for me, is that I'm perfectly imperfect. Does that mean I don't work on things and I don't try and make things right? No, of course I do. I want to do things to the best I can, knowing that that is still not perfect yet. I love and accept myself through the process. Why is this important? How does this connect with being better together? Well, I do want to give you this lens that in order for us to be able to be together, we've got to shift the source that feeds us from fear to love. And it sounds easier said than done. Now, I always use this thought when I'm in fear, I'm judgmental and I'm hard. And for a lot of you that know me, I often talk about Ninja Barbie. And Ninja Barbie was a bit of the persona that I created throughout my life as armor. As I went through challenges in life, I put this armor on so that I would be safe inside, so that, well, that's what I was telling myself, so that I would be protected. And you know what? I'm thankful for the protection, yet I choose that I can be free from that today. Interesting, hey? Does she fall out the cupboard every now and again, my Ninja Barbie persona? Absolutely she does. Do I recognize when it's happening? Yes. Can I move into love? Yes. Is it important? It is the only way to joy, to live, to love, and to lead from an authentic place. Okay, so I'm going to ask you all a question. I'm going to read 10 key statements, and I want you to just reflect on them because I want you to recognize, are you coming from a place of fear at times, or are you coming from a place of love? So I'm just going to read through this. The first one is, I'm consistently worried about tomorrow. If I'm worried about tomorrow, or I'm living in the past of yesterday, I'm definitely not present today. I cannot be the best that I need to be. Secondly, I'm lost in painful and shameful situations in my past. Hoo-hoo. I've got to be honest with you. This is something that can really steal joy, is when I'm carrying these shameful stories and this pain around with me all the time. I'm going to come from fear, because if I'm carrying it, I've not released it, and I've not actually confronted what it means in my life and how to be free. I'm feeling guilty about something. I was listening to a interview, and these women were talking about guilt, and guilt doesn't serve us. So we have to free ourselves of guilt, because guilt is connected to my fear source. Oh my goodness, how about this one? I see the faults in others. I just can't help myself. I see what they don't do well. I see the things that I'm embarrassed by that they're doing. I'm judging them. How do I know it? Well, I'm thinking about them and I need to fix them. Just think of that. I need them to change. Based on what? Based on right or wrong. And that's the other thing. Do you get stuck in right or wrong arguments? Are you striving for protection? Are you needing to be in control? I need to be my best. I'm always seeing the faults in what things are not, versus embracing things for what they are. And then finally, I'm worried that people will hurt me. I'm always worried. I'm worried I won't be good enough. Fear, fear, fear. Those I call the prison bars that lock me in. Who is me? The essence of who I really am. The joy of who I really am. Who am I? Love is curious, kind, generous, open. Of course, there's parts of me that I'm always going to be goal oriented. I love that. I'm always going to be curious. I love that. I'm always going to be plugged into serving others. I love that. But I'm going to do it from a place of love, not fear. I'm going to do it from a place of abundance, not lacking. I really want you to think of this. What does fear do? Fear causes stress. Stress in excess becomes distress. When I'm in distress, I am fighting for survival. And knowing the work I do, there's so many of our clients that are often caught in the distress cycle. We are fighting. I've been there. So it's such a fight. It's a fight for my worthiness. It's a fight for me being good enough. And what that does, it holds me back from me being able to connect with others. It holds me back from living my full potential. I think we've got to be honest that if we're stuck in that distress cycle, there's a few things we do. We need to recognize we're there, and we need to ask for help, and we need to trust ourselves enough to go through the process. And look, if you're out there and you're in the distress cycle, contact someone you can talk to. Contact your EAP. Contact a healthcare worker. Contact Lifeline. Speak to your coach. Speak to someone you trust so that they can help you move some of that distress out. And you know what? That's not by fixing you, but it's by helping you step out of survival and into peacefulness. How do we do that? Well, between stress and distress, there's a constant theme happening. And it's that constant theme of all the things I'm telling myself that is taking me into fear. Now, I'm going to share this with you because I'm quite happy to be open. One of the first things that I recognized when I was in deep distress, which was a state of trauma, was that I kept saying that I couldn't trust people to stand next to me. I had to be the only one who could do things. I could only trust myself. I would tell myself these stories. I'm not good enough. I'm not a good enough parent. I'm not a good enough provider. I'm never going to be good enough at this job. I'm these things about me that I'm going to fail. So these were the like negative stories running around in my head. And I remember about 3.5, 4 years ago, I sat in Melbourne Airport. I bought a journal. I call these my crazy lighthouse moments because I crash. I know I now need to do something. And I labeled the journal, Remember Who You Are. I didn't recognize how powerful that moment was. But what I did was I started writing down all the things that I thought I wasn't. So I faced the fear head on. And next to that, I wrote down all the things I know I am. What did that do for me? it started lifting the veil of that intense fear of not being good enough. And I'd like you all to think about that. But here's another list. All the things you're worried about that might be catching up with you at the moment. Why don't you make a list and go, oh, I'm worried about all of these things. And then I want you to do a little activity and go, is this fear that I'm having, is it realistic or is it unrealistic in this moment? Is it realistic or is it unrealistic? If it's unrealistic, I want you to cross it off your list. If it's realistic, I want you to think about it and go, I'm curious about you. What can I do, think, or understand about you so that I can activate and connect an opportunity to either learn from this, do it differently, put some plans in place, and then I release you. Because fear, then you no longer have the story that you keep spinning in my head again and again. Why am I sharing all of this stuff around fear and love? Because if we're wanting better organizations, better teams, a better you, we need to start unshackling the fear prison that holds you locked in, because we were destined to be better together. And the only way to be together is to shift the source that feeds us from fear to love. You've got the tools, you can do this. I've shared a few ideas with you today. I'm looking forward to checking in with you again. And if you want to reach out to me, do so on www.ignitepurpose.com.au or Christina Foxwell at ignitepurpose.com.au. I'm going to just share that again because I think I botched that up. Christina at ignitepurpose.com.au. Actually, before I leave, I just want to give you the story once again. Recognize when you're in fear overdrive. Choose to switch to love. Acceptance is the only way of releasing and letting go of fear. So you've got to recognize it and accept it. Retell your story. And always remember who you are. This is Christina Foxwell. What a pleasure to spend time with you. Can't wait to tune in